My name is Catherine Evans. I'm 20 years old, and my mom decided a long time ago that I was on my own. Rent is your responsibility, Catherine. You're an adult. Your sister deserves to be taken care of. She said that while I was standing in my greasy cafe uniform on a 15-minute break between my two jobs, my phone tucked between my shoulder and my ear. My hands still smelled like burnt espresso and dish soap. My little sister was at home, scrolling on the couch, living rent-free. Her biggest worry being what to post on social media. Me? I was calculating whether I could afford groceries and textbooks in the same week. I worked the campus bookstore in the morning, the cafe at night, and squeezed classes into the gaps like an afterthought. Every time I hinted that I was drowning, my mom repeated the same line like a script. You wanted to be independent. Your sister. He deserves to be taken care of. That sentence carved itself into my brain. It didn't matter how many double shifts I pulled, how many nights I cried quietly over overdue bills. They never offered to help. They never asked if I was okay. And then one day, everything flipped. The girl they'd wrapped in bubble wrap finally crashed. Suddenly, my independence wasn't a choice anymore. It was their last lifeline. They called, texted, begged, demanded. For the first time in my life, I held all the power. When they finally needed my help, I said no. If you've ever worked yourself to the bone while someone else got everything handed to them, stick around till the end and hit subscribe, because you're going to want to see exactly how this story plays out. I didn't start out wanting revenge. I started out just wanting to breathe. Most mornings began the same way. The alarm at 5:45 a.m., my hand-slamming snooze, the familiar ache in my back, reminding me of last night's closing shift. By 6:00, I was on my feet, forcing myself into jeans that smelled faintly of coffee and whatever cheap detergent was on sale last week. At 7:30, I was behind the counter at the campus bookstore, scanning textbooks for sleepy freshmen. Student ID? Do you want the rental or to buy? No, I can't give you a discount. I don't get one either. My life was a loop of scripted lines. Rough night? My manager Zoe asked one morning as she saw me stifle a yawn. Just the usual, I muttered, shoving another stack of overpriced business textbooks onto the shelf. Between customers, I'd sneak glances at my phone. Our family group chat was always full of the same thing. Photos from home. A new latte with whipped cream and caramel drizzle. My sister showing off her self-care day. A mirror selfie in a new outfit with the caption, "Thanks, Mom." A boomerang of her feet in the passenger seat of a car. Road trip with Dad. I scrolled in silence, thumb hovering over the screen. No one had asked how my midterms were going. No one had asked how many hours I was working this week. No one had asked if I'd eaten. By noon, my shift ended. I grabbed a protein bar from my backpack, lunch, and speed walked to class. I sat in the back row, my eyelids heavy, my laptop screen filled with lecture slides that all blurred together into one long, exhausting paragraph. During a 5-minute break, I opened my banking app. My stomach clenched. $42.13 in my checking account. Rent was due in 4 days. I swallowed the panic and kept scrolling. Then I saw it. A notification from my sister's Instagram. A new post. She was in our parents' kitchen, grinning, holding up keys. Mom and Dad said they don't ever want me to worry about money while I'm finding myself. My home, my safe place. I'm so blessed. There were balloons in the background, a cake on the counter. My old bedroom, my former bedroom, was now her content room, strung with fairy lights. I stared at the screen until my vision stung. At 4:30 p.m., I clocked in at the cafe across town. The air smelled like roasted beans and burnt milk. The line was already out the door. Large iced caramel, 2 pumps vanilla, oat milk, extra caramel on top. Someone shouted over the noise. Coming right up, I said automatically. A group of students laughed in the corner, complaining about their crazy 15-hour workloads. I thought about my 35 hours between 2 jobs, plus classes, plus assignments, plus the quiet, suffocating fear of one unexpected bill. Around 7 p.m., during a lull, I finally got a text from my mom. "Mom, just checking in on you. You're doing okay, right?" I stared at the message, heat rising in my chest. "Me, I'm exhausted. Rent's due soon, and I'm not sure I can cover it. Can we talk?" The bubbles appeared, then disappeared, then came back. "Mom, honey, you're strong. You always figure it out. We're already covering everything for your sister. She deserves to feel secure while she's still at home. You chose to move out." I clenched my jaw so hard it hurt. Me. I chose to move out because you told me there was no space for me anymore. She replied almost instantly. "Mom, don't twist things. We've done our best for both of you. Your sister just needs more help." More help. As if my 2 jobs, my panic, my empty fridge were signs that I needed less. I almost typed out everything I was thinking. How they'd paid for her car but not helped with my bus pass. How they'd thrown her a graduation party and sent me a "proud of you" text for my dean's list. How they'd let her skip chores because she's stressed while I was scrubbing dishes alone at 16. Instead, I deleted every draft and typed, "Me, got it." That night, on my 10-minute break, I unlocked my phone and opened a notes app I'd never shown anyone. At the top, I'd written a title weeks ago, "Reasons I'm done being the backup daughter." I started adding bullet points. 2 jobs, 0 help. They remodeled my old room for her content. You chose this. She deserves to be taken care of. I stared at the list, fingers trembling. This wasn't just stress anymore. It wasn't just sibling rivalry. This was a pattern. Years of it. And for the first time, the thought slipped into my mind like a whisper. What would happen if I stopped being their safety net? If you've ever wondered how long you're supposed to be the strong one before something inside you finally snaps, you already know where this is going. The call that changed everything didn't happen because I planned it. It happened because my mom pushed the wrong button at the wrong time. It was a Tuesday night. I'd just finished a closing shift at the cafe. My feet hurt. There was syrup on my arm, and some guy had yelled at me because we were out of oat milk. I was one loud noise away from crying in the walk-in fridge. As I stepped out into the cold air behind the cafe, my phone buzzed. "Mom?" I almost let it go to voicemail. Instead, I pressed accept. "Hey," I said, voice flat. "Catherine, finally. I've been meaning to talk to you," she chirped. It always amazed me how cheerful she sounded when my life was in shambles. "What's up?" I leaned against the brick wall, staring at the dumpster, trying not to think about the smell. "So," she began, "your sister wants to sign up for this photography retreat. It's in another state, but she's really excited. We're going to help her with the fee, but money is a little tight right now, so we were thinking..." There was a sharp buzzing in my ears. I already knew where this was going. "Nyuk, we were thinking, maybe you could help a little? Chip in? You know, as her big sister. Be supportive." I laughed. Actually laughed. It came out harsher than I intended. You're asking me to pay for her retreat?" I said, incredulous. "I'm behind on my rent." "Oh, don't be dramatic," she replied. "It's just a couple $100. You can pick up an extra shift or 2. You always manage. A couple $100. That was half my rent." "Mom," I said slowly, "I am barely making it as it is. I work 2 jobs. I'm behind on assignments. I'm living off instant noodles. And you want me to help pay for her little vacation?" "It's not a vacation," she snapped. "It's an opportunity. You got to go away for college. She never got that. It's only fair." "Fair?" My voice rose. "You think anything about this is fair?" The words I'd swallowed for years started forcing their way out. "Fair would have been you helping me when I was choosing between books and food. Fair would have been you letting me keep my room instead of turning it into her studio. Fair would have been you not telling me at 18, 'You're grown, figure it out,' while she's 20 and still living at home rent-free." "Watch your tone, young lady," she snapped. "We did what we had to do. You were always strong. She's not. She deserves to be taken care of. There it was again. That line, like a knife sliding between my ribs. Do you even hear yourself? I asked quietly. Do you realize how it sounds when you say she deserves to be taken care of, like I don't? Silence. Then, you're twisting my words. We've given you so much. We helped you with your first semester's books. You gave me a used laptop and told me I'd gotten too big for this house when I asked about staying one more year. I cut in. You told me it was time to stand on my own. So I did. Now you want me to stand on my own and carry her weight too? She's sensitive, Catherine. You know that. And I'm what? A workhorse? My throat burned. I pulled straight A's. I got scholarships. I took every extra shift. Did you ever once say, "Hey, how about you take a break? We've got you?" No. But she cries once over a bad grade, and you leap to fix it. Don't make this a competition, Mom said sharply. We love both of you. Then name 3 things you've done for me in the past year, I shot back, that weren't just telling me how proud you are via text. The silence this time was heavier. I'm not going to play these games, she finally said. Your sister needs support. Family helps family. No, I said, my voice steady in a way that scared me. Family helped one child and told the other to grow up. And now that the grown-up might say no, suddenly it's about loyalty? Catherine, don't you dare! I'm not sending a cent, I said. I'm not picking up extra shifts so she can go find herself while I'm losing myself. You are being selfish, Mom hissed. After everything we've done, this is how you repay us? She looks up to you. If she looks up to me, then maybe it's time she learns what standing up for yourself looks like, I replied. There was a sharp inhale on the other end, like I'd slapped her. If you hang up this phone right now, she said quietly, don't expect us to come running when you need something. I almost laughed again. When I needed something, you made sure I knew I was on my own, I said. I got the message loud and clear years ago. And then I did it. I hung up. My thumb hovered over the screen for a second afterward, the call-ended notification glaring at me. My heart raced, my hands shook, and the alley behind the cafe suddenly felt too small. I opened my notes app again and added a new line. Tonight, I stopped begging to matter. Was it harsh? Maybe. Was it overdue? Absolutely. People talk about the moment they finally snapped, like it's some explosive event. Mine was quieter, colder. It wasn't screaming. It was deciding. Deciding that if they could live with their choices, so could I. After that call, the silence from home was deafening. No more group chat updates. No more proud of you texts. No more passive-aggressive reminders that my sister needed me. For a week or two, I went on autopilot. Class, bookstore, cafe, collapse, repeat. But the anger that had once felt like acid in my veins slowly cooled into something sharper. Clarity. One night, around 2 a.m., after finishing an essay I barely remembered writing, I opened my banking app again. Same depressing numbers, same anxious knot in my stomach. Then I opened another tab I rarely touched, a savings account with a pathetic balance I'd been squirreling away bit by bit. Tips here, a scholarship refund there. It wasn't much, but it was mine. For years, every extra dollar had gone toward survival. Rent, food, books. I'd never even considered using it for anything that wasn't strictly necessary. But necessary had started to feel like a prison. I thought about my sister at home. Movie nights, takeout, a room she didn't pay for. And me, counting coins for laundry. I thought about my mom's voice. You chose this. No, I thought. You pushed me into this. The next morning, on my break between classes, I sent a text to my friend Maya. Me. Crazy idea. Road trip next month? Just a weekend. Beach. Cheap motel. Ramen and bad decisions. Maya. Lowell, are you serious? I thought you were married to your double shifts. I stared at the screen. My thumb hovered. Me. I'm serious. I need to remember what it feels like to do something that isn't just surviving. Within hours, we had a plan. 3 friends, 1 beat-up car, a 2-night stay at the cheapest motel we could find within driving distance, and enough snacks to fuel a small army. When the weekend finally came, I almost backed out. My anxiety screamed, "What if your hours get cut? What if an emergency comes up? What if this is irresponsible?" Then another voice, quieter but steadier, said, "What if it's the first right thing you've done for yourself in years?" We left at dawn. The sun wasn't even up yet when Maya pulled up in front of my apartment, music blasting, trunk already stuffed with backpacks and junk food. "You sure about this?" she asked as I climbed in. "No," I admitted, "but I'm doing it anyway." The drive was messy and loud, off-key singing, terrible gas station coffee, and arguments over which playlist to use. For the first time in a long time, my laughter didn't feel forced. At some point, I opened my camera and took a selfie. Hair a mess, sunglasses crooked, a rare, genuine smile on my face. I stared at it for a long moment. Then, deliberately, I opened Instagram. I hadn't posted in months. My feed was a graveyard of old academic achievements, cafe shots, and the occasional sunset. I typed a caption, "Working 2 jobs isn't glamorous, but sometimes you get to spend your hard-earned money on something that's just for you. No guilt, no permission needed." I hesitated before hitting share, knowing exactly who would see it. We reached the beach just before sunset. The sky burned orange and pink, the waves loud and relentless. "I no bandan kong takan dai, nen min gyu ratangan va tap trung vao han jong." We kicked off our shoes and ran toward the water like kids. The shock of the cold waves hit my ankles, then my knees, and I laughed, really laughed, until my chest ached. Later that night, back at the motel, my phone buzzed. "Mom, looks like you have money for trips now." There it was. "No, how are you?" "No, I saw your post. Looks fun." Just accusation. Me. I paid for this with my own money, from my own jobs, like everything else. She replied almost instantly, "Mom, if you have extra for that, you could have helped your sister." I stared at the glowing screen in the dark motel room. My friends were asleep, the air conditioner rattling softly. I thought about all the times I denied myself even small pleasures because I felt guilty. Because there was always some unspoken rule that my job was to sacrifice. I typed slowly, "Me. I'm done being responsible for everyone's happiness but my own." No response. I put my phone face down and opened the Notes app again, starting a new entry. Journal. Beach weekend. This isn't running away. This is proof I can build a life without them. If they only call when they need something, maybe it's time I stop answering. I wasn't planning revenge in a movie villain way. There were no elaborate schemes. Just one decision at a time, saying yes to myself, saying no to them. I didn't know it yet, but this trip was the last time I'd feel even a little guilty about that. Because when I got back, they wouldn't be asking for a couple $100s anymore. They'd be asking for everything. It started with a missed call from my dad, then another, then 3 more. I was in the campus library halfway through annotating an article when my phone buzzed for the 5th time in an hour. Same caller ID, Dad. My parents never called me that much. Most of the time, I was an afterthought, an extra on the set of my sister's life. The 6th time, I caved and stepped outside. "Hello?" I answered, already tense. "Catherine." His voice sounded different, tired, frayed. "Thank God you picked up." "What's going on?" I asked, heart ticking up a notch. There was a pause, then a sigh. "It's about your sister," he said. "We're in trouble." Of course it was about her. "What kind of trouble?" I asked, my voice flat. He hesitated. I could hear the TV in the background, the murmur of my mom's voice. My sister shouting something I couldn't make out. She's not doing well in school," he began. "She's failing some classes. She might have to withdraw this semester." I blinked. "I thought she wasn't paying for school," I said. "Didn't you say you were taking care of everything so she wouldn't stress?" "We were," he said quickly. "We took out some loans in our name to cover her tuition. We didn't want to burden her. But with interest and some other expenses, things have gotten Complicated. Complicated how? I pressed. We're behind on payments, he admitted. And if she withdraws, some of the aid goes away, but the debt doesn't. We're juggling bills, and your mom's hours got cut at work, and you need money, I finished for him. Silence. You're working 2 jobs, he said finally. You're responsible. You've always been good with money. We were hoping maybe you could help us get through this rough patch. Just for a little while. There it was. The moment the hook had promised. My mom made me work 2 jobs to support myself while my sister lived at home, rent-free. Now that their golden child was in over her head, suddenly my independence wasn't just a choice. It was a resource. How much is a little while? I asked, my voice icy. We were thinking... He cleared his throat. Maybe you could cover a few payments, or co-sign a consolidation loan. Your credit is good, right? You've never missed anything. My chest tightened. You want me to put my name on your mess? I said slowly. On the loans you took out to protect her from consequences you were happy to watch me suffer? Don't put it like that, he said. We were just trying to give her what you had. What I had? I repeated, stunned. You mean panic attacks over rent, working between lectures, eating cereal for dinner because I couldn't afford anything else? You got to go away for school, he insisted. She stayed here. It wasn't fair. Fair? I laughed bitterly. You kicked me out emotionally before I ever left physically. You told me to stand on my own and then acted shocked when I did. Now you want to lean on me? Catherine, we are your parents, he snapped. We raised you. We did our best. Family helps family. There it was again. That convenient slogan they only pulled out when they needed something. Did family help me when I was crying in a bathroom stall because my card got declined for groceries? I shot back. Did family help when I asked if I could move home for 1 semester to save money and Mom said, "We don't have space for you anymore"? That's not fair, he argued. We were adjusting. Your sister needed stability. And I didn't? My voice shook, but I didn't back down. You chose who to protect. You made it clear who deserved safety and who deserved tough love. He tried a different tactic. If we lose the house, he said quietly, where will your sister go? Where will your mother go? For a second, the old Catherine flinched. The Catherine who would have torn herself apart to fix everything. I pictured my sister on that couch, ranting on social media about toxic negativity, while I counted tips in the dark. I pictured my mom's texts, guilt-tripping me for daring to take a weekend trip I'd paid for with my own sweat. I pictured the list in my notes app, the years of being the backup daughter. Why is that my responsibility? I asked. Because we're family, he repeated. Because you're doing well. Because you're strong. There it was. I took a slow breath. You're right, I said. I am strong. I worked hard for that. But my strength is not a resource for you to drain whenever your favoritism backfires. That's not what this is, he protested. We just need help. Temporarily. Temporarily, until what? I challenged. Until my credit is ruined? Until I'm trapped in debt for a degree that isn't even mine? Until every decision I make has to go through you because my name is on your loans? You're being dramatic, he said weakly. No, I replied. I'm being realistic. Something you should have been when you signed papers you couldn't afford. So you're just going to let us drown? He asked, his voice cracking. You'd really do that to your own family? I swallowed hard. You let me drown for years, I said quietly. You watched me go under and called it building character. Now you're asking me to jump back into the water with weights tied to my ankles. Catherine, I'm not co-signing anything, I said. I'm not sending money. I'm not taking on your debt. I will not destroy my future to fix choices I never got a vote in. You're going to regret this, he said, anger flaring. When you're alone and you need us. I've already needed you, I cut in. And you were busy making sure she never had to feel what struggling feels like. There was a long, brittle silence. Finally, he said, Your mother was right. You've changed. I stared at the sky, blinking back tears I refused to let fall. I had to, I said. You taught me that if I didn't take care of myself, no one would. And then I delivered the line that had been forming ever since that day in the cafe. The line my whole story had been building toward. When you finally needed my help, I refused. I didn't shout it. I didn't whisper it. I just said it. And then I ended the call. No dramatic slam, no screaming match. Just a clean, final click. My phone buzzed almost immediately with incoming messages. First from Dad, then from Mom, then later from my sister. I didn't open them. I slid my phone into my pocket, walked back into the library, and sat down at my table. My hands were still shaking, but something inside me felt steady. For the first time in my life, I had chosen me over them, not in a petty way, not to hurt them for fun, but as a line in the sand. Some people will hear this and say I'm heartless, that I should have helped just this once. That blood is thicker than water. Maybe they're right. Or maybe they've never had to be the strong one until their spine started to crack. If you were in my shoes, if the people who left you to sink suddenly begged you to be their lifeline, would you throw them a rope? Or would you finally let go? For a while, I honestly thought they were bluffing. After I refused to co-sign the loan, there was a wave of angry texts, missed calls, half-written guilt paragraphs. Then, nothing. Just silence. At first, it felt like relief. No more notifications lighting up my phone. No more emotional landmines every time I checked my messages. I went to work. I went to class. I slept better than I had in months. Then the ripples started. It happened in small ways at first. My aunt messaged me on Facebook. Aunt Lisa, your parents are really stressed. I heard you refused to help. Is everything okay? I stared at the screen, jaw tight. Me. They've had my help for years. They just didn't notice because it wasn't money in their accounts. She left me on red. A week later, a cousin DM'd me. Heard there's drama at your house. Your sister posted something about betrayal from the people you love most. Everything good? I opened my sister's profile with a sinking feeling. There it was. A black background story post with dramatic text. Nothing hurts like realizing the person you looked up to the most would rather watch you fall than help you. Guess blood really isn't thicker than water. And under it. Family. Betrayal. Hurt. No names, but everyone knew. I stared at it for a long time. My thumb hovered over the reply button. Then I locked my phone and shoved it into my bag. If I defended myself, I'd look guilty. If I stayed quiet, I'd look heartless. But I remembered my dad's voice. You'd really do that to your own family? What no one ever asked was, what did they do to me? 2 weeks passed before my sister finally called. I was on my lunch break at the bookstore, sitting in the stockroom on a crate, eating a crushed granola bar when my phone lit up. Incoming call, Little Disaster. Yeah, that was her contact name. I'd changed it after the road trip. I almost let it go to voicemail. Instead, I answered and said nothing. Hello? She said after a second. Her voice sounded smaller than I remembered. Kat? Yeah, I said. I'm here. Silence, then a sniffle. So that's it, she blurted. You're just cutting us off? Letting everything fall apart? I closed my eyes, exhaled slowly. Nice to hear from you too, I said. She ignored that. You know they might lose the house, right? She continued, words tumbling over each other. They're fighting all the time. Dad's been snapping at everyone. Mom's crying like every night. They're drowning and you're just living your life like nothing's happening. I pictured the house I'd grown up in, the kitchen where I learned to make boxed mac and cheese, the hallway where my childhood photos had slowly been replaced with her graduation shots and candid selfies. I didn't sign any of those loans, I said quietly. I didn't tell anyone to take on debt they couldn't afford. Wow, she said, voice sharp now. You really don't care, do you? That hit me harder than I wanted it to. You think I don't care? I repeated. I care so much it's been suffocating me for years. I cared when they told me there was no space for me at home. I cared when I had to work 2 jobs to survive while you were on the couch. I cared when I asked for help, and they said, you'll figure it out. You're strong. Her breathing hitched. I didn't ask them to kick you out, she said, quieter now. I didn't. I didn't know it was that bad for you. How would you? I asked. Every time something went wrong in your life, they dropped everything. Every time something went wrong in mine, they said, "We're proud of you for being so independent." She went silent. In the background, I heard faint voices, our parents arguing, a door slamming, my sister's chair squeaking. They're not like you think, she said finally. They're just scared. They thought if they pushed you, you'd be successful. They thought I'd fall apart if they didn't shield me from everything. Well, congratulations to them, I said. They got exactly what they wanted. What's that supposed to mean? She snapped. They made me strong, I replied. So strong that I can walk away now. And they made you so dependent that the first time life hits you, you don't know how to stand up. Silence. Heavy, offended, wounded silence. That's not fair, she whispered. Fair? I repeated. You know what's not fair? Sitting in a freezing apartment because I couldn't afford heating while you posted cozy nights at home with a new throw blanket and a latte Mom made you. That's not my fault, she burst out. I didn't tell them not to help you. I know, I said. This isn't about blaming you for their choices. But you're an adult now. You're old enough to see the pattern. She sniffed again. Her voice was breaking. I'm going to have to get a job, she said, like it was a death sentence. Dad said if I'm not in school full-time, I have to help with bills. I don't know how to do that, Kat. I don't know how to live like you do. There it was. For a moment, the part of me that used to rush in and fix everything stirred. I imagined sending her money, letting her crash on my couch, walking her through budgeting. But another part of me remembered staying late at the cafe because someone had called in sick. Remembered crying in a dark apartment because my card had declined. Remembered begging my mom to let me move home for one semester and hearing, "We don't have space for you anymore." No one did it for me, I said softly. I learned. You can too. So that's it? She whispered. You're just going to watch us fall apart? I swallowed. No, I said. I'm going to watch you finally learn what responsibility feels like. She let out a small, broken laugh. You really hate me that much, huh? She said. That stung. I don't hate you, I answered. I hate the way they set us up to resent each other. I hate that they made me the villain for refusing to be used. Used? She repeated. Their plan was simple, I said. Make one kid self-sufficient, spoil the other, then when their choices backfire, guilt the strong one into saving everyone. She didn't deny it. She couldn't. What am I supposed to do then? She asked, voice shaking. Just get some minimum wage job and hope everything magically works out? Yes, I said. Get a job. Learn to budget. Figure out how much your aesthetic lattes cost when it's your money. Grow up. That's easy for you to say, she muttered. I almost laughed. Nothing about any of this has been easy, I replied. You think I liked working double shifts instead of going out? You think I enjoyed skipping meals? You think I didn't cry? The only difference between us is no one swooped in to cushion my fall. So you're just going to let me hit the ground? She whispered. No, I said quietly. I'm going to let you hit the ground and stand back up on your own. She was silent for a long time. What if I fail? She finally asked, so quietly I almost didn't hear it. You will, I said honestly. Everyone does at some point. But if I save you now, you'll never learn how to handle failing. You'll just keep expecting someone to fix it for you. She sniffed again. I imagined her wiping her nose with the back of her hand, sitting cross-legged on the bed that used to be mine. Do you still love me? She asked. That broke something in me. Yes, I said, without hesitation. But I love me too. And for once, I'm choosing me. I could feel her breathing on the line, like a wounded animal trying to decide whether to bite or collapse. Okay, she whispered finally. Okay, I'll figure it out. I know you can, I replied. You're smarter than they made you believe. They treated you like glass, but you're not. You're just out of practice. She let out a shaky breath. They're going to blame you, she warned, for everything that happens next. I know, I said. They already do. Are you okay with that? She asked. No, not really. But I'd rather be the villain in someone else's story than the sacrifice in my own. I'm okay with not drowning anymore, I said. If that makes me the bad guy, so be it. We stayed on the line for a few more seconds, breathing. Good luck, I said softly. You too, she replied. When I hung up, I didn't feel triumphant. I didn't feel like some mastermind who'd pulled off the perfect revenge. I felt heavy, sad, relieved, guilty, free. No one tells you that setting boundaries can feel worse than letting people walk all over you, at least at first. But which pain would you rather live with? The pain of being hated for protecting yourself, or the pain of endlessly betraying yourself to be loved? If you were me, which one would you pick? Months passed. Rent still came due. I still worked both jobs. But something had shifted. For the first time, I wasn't waiting for my phone to light up with demands disguised as family check-ins. When my parents did text, it was short, stiff, and usually about logistics, insurance information, a piece of mail, some distant relative's birthday. I answered when necessary, nothing more. I heard about what was happening at home through other people. Our aunt complaining about how my parents had to sell their second car. A cousin mentioning that my sister had picked up a job at a clothing store in the mall. The news that shocked me most came from a mutual friend who still lived in our hometown. Your sister applied at my workplace, she texted. Part-time. She even asked about how to write a resume. Looked totally lost. I stared at that message for a long time. Part of me wanted to swoop in and fix it. Send her a template, edit her resume, coach her through the interview. The habit of being the responsible one doesn't die easily. Instead, I put my phone down and opened my laptop to work on a scholarship application. For me. One rainy afternoon, my phone buzzed with a message that made my stomach drop. Little disaster. I'm going to be near your campus tomorrow. Can we talk? In person. I stared at it, heartbeat pounding in my ears. In person meant no easy exit. No, my battery is dying. No, I have to get back to work. In person meant eye contact. Tears. Maybe shouting. Maybe worse. Silence. But some part of me was tired of fighting ghosts through screens. Me. After my shift at the bookstore, 5 p.m., there's a coffee place across the street. Her. I'll be there. The next day, I spent my whole shift on edge. Every beep of the scanner grated on my nerves. Every customer felt like they were speaking from underwater. At 4:55 p.m., I clocked out, straightened my shirt, and walked across the street. She was already there, sitting at a small table by the window, hands wrapped around a plain black coffee. Plain, no whipped cream, no caramel drizzle, no extra shot with oat milk, and 3 pumps of whatever. Just coffee. She looked different. Not dramatically, no shaved head or anything, but there were faint purple smudges under her eyes, and her nails weren't done. Her phone was face down on the table. When she saw me, she stood up, then seemed to think better of it and sat back down. Hey, I said. Hey, she echoed. We stared at each other for a few seconds. Two strangers with matching eyes. You look tired, she blurted. So do you, I replied. She laughed weakly. Yeah, well, she said, glancing down at her calloused hands. Turns out standing on your feet all day isn't as fun as it looks on TikTok. I sat across from her, my heart doing somersaults. Why did you want to meet? I asked. She took a deep breath. Because I'm mad at you, she said. And because I get why you did it. And because those two things are tearing me in half. That was more honest than I expected. I'm listening, I said. She stared into her coffee like it held answers. After you said no to Dad, she began, everything imploded. They're in so much debt, Kat. I didn't realize how bad it was. They hid everything from me. I thought we were comfortable. Turns out we were a house of credit cards waiting to collapse. I didn't say I told you so. I just nodded. They sold the car they bought me, she continued. Dad's working overtime. Mom picked up weekend shifts. And me. Apparently, I'm not a princess anymore. There was bitterness in her tone, but under it, something like shame. I got a job at the mall, she said. First week, my feet felt like they were going to fall off. Some lady yelled at me because we ran out of a size. My manager talks to me like I'm an idiot. And every time I complain, Mom says, "Now you know how your sister felt." That surprised me. She said that? I asked. Yeah, she snorted. Funny, right? Now she suddenly remembers you exist. I wasn't sure whether to feel vindicated or nauseous. They've been blaming you nonstop, she added, looking up at me, saying you abandoned us, that you're selfish, that you changed after moving out. I did change, I said. I had to. I know, she said. They act like you owe them your life because they kept us fed and clothed. But they don't talk about the emotional stuff, the way they treated you, the way they turned me into a project instead of a person. I swallowed hard. You see that now? I asked quietly. Getting yelled at by strangers for $12 an hour will open your eyes real fast, she said dryly. We both laughed, and for a split second it felt almost normal. Then her expression shifted. I'm still angry, though, she admitted. Part of me wishes you had just helped. Signed the paper, sent the money, made it go away. Because this sucks, Kat. I hate it. I hate being scared about bills. I hate watching them panic. I hate working after 10 p.m. and waking up at 6. I know, I said. I've hated it for years. She nodded slowly. That's the other part, she said. The part that knows you've been living like this while I was complaining about slow Wi-Fi. She looked up, eyes wet. I'm sorry, she whispered. Not just for now, for all of it. For all the times I threw your struggles in your face without realizing it. For posting about being so blessed while you were choosing between eating and printing assignments. For letting them treat you like you were less deserving of care. My throat tightened. You didn't let them, I said. They're the parents. We were kids. Yeah, well, we're not kids now, she said. And I'm tired of pretending I don't see it. She hesitated, then added, I found something, by the way, in Mom's room, after another fight with Dad. My stomach clenched. What? I asked. Old papers, she said, from when you were a kid. Notes from a counselor, letters from school about you being too independent or taking on too much responsibility at a young age. Mom had scribbled in the margins things like, she'll be fine and she doesn't need coddling. Of course she did. She always said you were the strong one, my sister continued. But reading those notes, it kind of sounded like she was proud of not having to do the emotional work with you. I looked away, blinking fast. And there were notes about me too, she added. About my anxiety, about my meltdowns, about how I needed structure and reassurance. They weren't wrong, but instead of helping me grow, they just froze me there. Like I was made of glass. She paused. They didn't love you less, she said carefully. They just loved you in a way that hurt you, and they loved me in a way that crippled me. The truth of that sat between us like a third person at the table. So where does that leave us? I asked. She took a deep breath. I don't want to keep being their shield, she said, or their pawn, or their excuse. I don't want them to keep weaponizing your strength against you. And I don't want to keep hating you because it's easier than admitting they messed up. Me either, I said. She looked me dead in the eye. I can't ask you to rescue us, she said. I won't. Not anymore. But I don't want to lose you either. For a second, the little girl version of her flashed in my mind. The one who used to crawl into my bed after nightmares, before we learned the script of strong child and fragile child. I don't want to lose you, I admitted. But I'm not going back to being the emergency fund they didn't pay into. Good, she said. You shouldn't. That surprised me. I thought you said you were mad I didn't help, I said. I am, she replied, but I'm more mad that it ever got to the point where helping meant ruining your life. That's not on you. That's on them. We sat in silence for a moment, listening to the hiss of the espresso machine, the murmur of other people's conversations. So what now? I asked. She shrugged. Now I keep working, she said. I pay my share. I figure out what I want that isn't just whatever looks good online. I mess up. I learn. I stop expecting someone to save me. She looked at me, eyes searching. And you keep your boundaries. You don't sign anything for them. You don't jump every time they call. You keep building your life. Separate from them? I asked. She considered that. Separate from their control, she clarified. Not necessarily separate from me, if you don't want that. I let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. I'd like that, I said. Having a relationship that isn't just me resenting you and you resenting me for resenting you. She smiled faintly. Deal, she said. Sisters, but with boundaries. We both laughed quietly at that. Do they know you're here? I asked. She snorted. Mom told me not to lower myself by begging you, she said. Dad said if I came, I should convince you to do the right thing. And did you plan to? I asked. She shrugged. Maybe at first, she admitted. But seeing you, hearing you, I can't unhear what you went through. I won't pretend it doesn't matter just because it's inconvenient. That was the twist I hadn't seen coming. Not some dramatic revelation of a secret fortune or a hidden betrayal. Just this. The realization that my revenge wasn't some grand act of cruelty. It was simply this. Refusing to carry burdens that were never mine. Refusing to rescue people from consequences they chose. Refusing to keep playing a role that was killing me. And the unexpected side effect? It forced everyone else to finally grow up. We finished our drinks in silence. As we stood to leave, she hesitated. Can I hug you? She asked. I nodded. The hug was awkward at first. Two adults trying to remember how to be family without all the scripts. Then her shoulders shook. And mine did too. And for a moment we were just two sisters caught in the middle of our parents' choices. Thank you, she whispered, for not saving me. I hate it, but I think I needed it. Me too, I said, for not saving them. I hate that it hurt, but I needed to know I could choose myself. We pulled apart. As I watched her walk away, hair frizzy, jacket a little too thin for the weather, coffee-stained shoes, I realized something. This was the real revenge. Not them losing money, not us fighting, not some cinematic meltdown. The real revenge was that I was no longer begging for their approval, their support, or their version of love. I'd stopped auditioning for the role of good daughter in a play I never agreed to be in. I was writing my own script now, so here's the question I'll leave you with. Is the most powerful revenge making them suffer, or finally refusing to suffer for them? If you've ever been the strong one, the responsible one, the one everyone assumes will just handle it, tell me in the comments. What would your line in the sand look like? And if this story hit a little too close to home, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stick around. Because sometimes the most shocking revenge stories aren't about strangers. They're about family.